Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg, and this is Drawing with Fountain Pens. Today I'm going to talk about another pen that I got at the Baltimore Washington International Pen Show in March. It's the Pelikan or Pelikan 400NN. This is a pen that was very popular in the late 1950s up to around 1965, I think, is the date when they were making these pens. There were a whole series of 400 Pelikan 400 pens. The NN, the N stands for new, is an internal designation. They didn't actually put that number on the pen itself, but signaled slight changes that they made to the pen from its introduction in 1950 to the 1960s. And then this became such a kind of iconic pen in the Pelikan lineup that they reintroduced it in the 1980s. We know it as the Souverain M400, which they are still making today. And I have one of those too. So I'll talk about the pen, how it works, why people like it so much, and I'm going to use it to draw a hyacinth flower. This is one of my favorite times of the year when we have all the spring flowers, daffodils. Soon we'll have tulips, and I'll be making drawings of those the next few weeks. As always, if you find this useful, don't forget to subscribe and give it a like. So here's the pen again. It's really, I think, really beautiful. It's a small pen. It's around 5 inches long. It posts very well. It is a piston filler. One of the things that's great about Pelikan piston fillers is that when you do post them, it doesn't touch the piston, so it doesn't, put the cap on and off, it doesn't pour ink out of it. A lot of piston fillers don't do that. I don't know why. It is a pen with a 14 karat gold nib. The pen has this just beautiful celluloid, tortoise celluloid stripes that is kind of trademark of Pelikan, and really makes these vintage pens, I think, so wonderful. The other thing that is special about the pens that Pelikan is making in the 1950s is that the nibs are 14 karat gold, and they have a certain amount of flex to them. They're not super flexy, but I would say they're semi-flexy, and so they give you a bit of variety in the line. And this is something that I think people really enjoy in the pen that you don't get so much in their new models that look similar to this. So that's a big difference between the vintage 400, let's say, and the, this is actually the this would be the 405, I guess, because it has the chrome, but it is, and it's in black stripe, which is nice. But this nib, which is a beautiful nib, and I think writes really beautifully, does not have any flex to it at all. It really maybe has a little bit of a bounce. Now, also, the thing about these pens is that they're pretty small. I prefer the M800 size to this size. The 600 size, the M600, is a little bit bigger. So that's something you have to keep in mind. When these pens came out, they were priced, I think, around 25 Deutschmarks at the time. And there was a slightly less expensive pen, which is the 140, which also can have a nib that has a bit of flex. Not all the nibs, but some of the nibs the 140 have. And it's a slightly smaller pen. It was marketed as a less expensive alternative. But if you're looking for a vintage pen from that period and you want to have a bit of flex, people love the 140s, and they're less expensive now in terms of purchasing them. This pen, the tortoise one, you can get them for around $350, I suppose. I was able to get a really great deal on this one through my friend Paul Arano, who is the editor of the Fountain Pen Journal and also sells vintage pens. I was also lucky that Rick Propus, who is whose company is called the Penguin, he was actually able to tune it for me. So that's nice that the pen has a certain ability to write a little bit better. It's supposed to be a broad, but it has a kind of line variation that I think goes really from fine to broad. And I'll do a writing sample of it. What else can I say? There's a really nice poster that Pelikan created that advertised the 400 line by Herbert Lupin. Pelikan is really one of the wonderful things about Pelikan is that it has a long history of commissioning really beautiful advertising for its various pens. And I really like the sort of mid-century modern look of the poster that they used to promote the 400. Changes that happened between the original 400 and the NN are that the NN is a little longer, it has a pointier bottom to it, and it has a pointier top. Now, one thing I have to say about this pen is that I think on the cap top, where it's very hard to make out the chick in the Pelikan, but at least from what I can tell, they may have lost its green paint or whatever it was that made it stick out a little bit since it was an original. So there are these minor differences that define the changes between the original 400 and the NN. And then, of course, the differences between the way the pen looks now, in which it has this sort of flatter bottom and flatter top to it. But still is pretty true to the original. It's not, this is no longer this same kind of celluloid. That's really nice in the 1950s, early 60s version. This material is really beautiful. So anyway, it's a nice pen. I will write with it. I think I'll do a comparison between the way it writes and the way my 140, this is the 140, writes. And you can see that the 140 is a little bit smaller too than these two other pens. So this is the modern version, the contemporary version. This is the, I would say, circa 1960 version, the 400NN. And this is a 140. I'm not quite sure when this was made, but sometime in the 50s or early 60s, I guess. So how does it write? So this is the Pelikan 400 model NN. This is Waterman Mysterious Blue, which is a very dark blue. This is rhodia paper. And if you press, you see that it's quite quite a lot of flex to it. So you get something like a broad, and you get pretty thin lines. I would say, well, at least left to right, it's sort of writing fine. And going down stroke, it's almost a medium, and then I can get really thick before it starts to railroad. Nice pen. Now, it's not absolutely smooth. kind of fights me a little bit. It's actually really nice for drawing, but not necessarily my favorite pen for writing. You can hear quite a lot of feedback. And it does, if I go too fast, it does skip a little bit. Now, how does it compare to the 140? Now, I would say in this case, the lines are very similar, but this 140 writes better. And that may be because I got this 140 directly from Rick Propus, the Penguin. And so he really worked on this pen, while the other one I don't think was as nicely restored. I mean, Rick, the Penguin really is the place to go to get pens, Pelikan pens from the 1950s and early 60s that really write well. This is much more pleasant to write with. And it feels very, very similar and looks very similar to the 400. It's a little smaller. So I totally get it why people are really, why this is such a popular pen, given, you know, if you can get one for under $200, this is a great, in a way, a great deal. It's a very, very nice nib. But I have to say, I love the brown tortoiseshell color, so that's really nice. Here finally is the M405, and this is broad, and this is Waterman. This is a Waterman red ink. And it writes very smoothly. And you know, it's not a nail. It has a little bit of line variation, but nothing like the Vintage pen. This is a great pen for just writing. But keep in mind that the new pen is going to cost you as much as a Vintage 140. So that's something to keep in mind. Vintage doesn't necessarily mean more expensive.